Hey guys, what's up? It's Dan Baird with the Rumination Project, and we are on to episode 9 of Mental Health Monday. And as always, here's my co-host, Rasta. What's going on?
Hey guys, how's it going?
And
Happy Monday.
Today we're going to be talking about OCD, and that's an important subject. It's not something I know a lot about so this is going to be a lot of learning experience for me as well. And how are you doing today, Rasta?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you, Dan. Just kind of chilling. I know a little bit about OCD. I've been told by my wife I have a little bit of it. But
after watching some of the videos today, I kind of think that I may have it too, but I didn't realize that some of my behaviors were similar to OCD, and I know there's something called OCPD. Is that what you're actually diagnosed with when you actually?
Yeah, there's another initial in there, and I can't think.
Personality disorder. That's when you're actually diagnosed.
Yeah,
that one actually is a little more complex from my understanding. But we're going to be talking more about just your regular OCD tonight.
I've been out of the field for a couple of years, so I don't remember. I don't have all the initials and the acronyms on the tip of my tongue anymore.
What's going on, Joe? What's going on, Bud? How you guys all doing?
Hey, Bud. Glad you made it, Bud. Hi, Galen.
Please hit those reaction buttons too while you guys are here. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
And, we are over here live again, as always, in the Misfit Island, and it's a new group we're over here in. If you're not a member yet, go over there and like that group. All you have to do is search Misfit Island and send the request to join.
Crazy bunch of knuckleheads. Good people, though. Really good people. I fit in well. Hey, Chris Fisher, Purple Harris Gardens.
And speaking of that, we're going to go tag some people in over there in Misfit Island. Yeah, it does say you can tag everyone once a day in the group. It actually says that when you do it.
Oh, okay.
We can get some new people in here, and they don't even know we exist.
Yeah, we use it once in a while. We just try not to abuse it to keep the everyone haters from coming up and getting too mad.
Right. But you can't get too mad when we're sitting here talking about mental health. Come on.
Yeah, things like this, they understand. It's whenever, some admins get a little crazy with that at everyone on every post and stuff. And people, I can understand the aggravations.
Yeah, especially when they're waffling stuff off and they're trying to get everybody in there.
Right.
Yeah. How you doing, Vicky? What's going on, Chris? But today we're going to be talking about OCD, and we also started a new segment, and I guess we can do it at the beginning. That would probably make more sense. And I wanted to share more on the news about what was going on in mental health news, or what was going on with somebody who might have been talking personally about mental health. So today we're going to have our first episode of mental health news, and we actually have a little intro here. So. Sounds a little funny at the end there, but today, there's the big story that a lot of people have been talking about is Simone Biles coming back into gymnastics, and she made her debut this week after 2 years of not being in gymnastics, and she has very openly talked about mental health, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about it. So when we do these mental health news segments, we're only going to take about 5 to 10 minutes and briefly talk about it. I know Rasta said he hadn't kept up on it, and I kind of informed him about she had a performance this week, and she won the competition. And 2 years ago, if you remember right, she withdrew from the Tokyo Olympics because she had some very serious mental issues where she was having trouble concentrating and having trouble doing her moves. So I think it was very important that she openly talked about it. And there's actually a little short video of a news story they shared this morning that I'll share that kind of talks about it and her mental health struggles here.
Awesome.
And because I think it's important that people who have these kind of positions, athletes, talk about mental health and how important it is. And then it opens up opportunities for other big athletes or big names to talk about it as well. And then children see it, and they said, it sets an example for children and everything. It's just overall a good thing when an athlete talks about their mental health.
Sure. When somebody in that position speaks openly, it allows other people to be vulnerable too.
Yeah, and in fact, I think the U.S. women's soccer team said Simone Biles is the reason they all openly started talking about their mental health. So it's really important when somebody does that. And here we go. We'll set the stream up here and share this little story real quick.
Thanks, Chuck.
Simone Biles soaring to success.
And a huge smile on her face.
Winning Saturday's Core Hydration Classic, her first competition in more than 2 years.
It felt really good, especially after everything that's happened over the past year.
Biles earning first place in the all-around, balance beam, floor routine, and the vault. That same event where she struggled and ultimately sidelined herself during 2021's Tokyo Olympic Games.
And it looked like she got almost lost in the air.
At the time, the 4-time gold medalist blaming a case of the twisties, a mental block that throws off a gymnast's ability to track their movements in the air.
I have to focus on my mental well-being, and that's what I did.
You sure did. That was brave.
Thank you. It was hard working 5 years for a dream and just having to give it up. It was not easy at all.
Biles ultimately taking a 2-year break from all competitions to focus on her mental health.
I worked on myself a lot. I still do therapy weekly, and it's just been so exciting to come out here and have the confidence I had before.
Now the 26-year-old atop the podium once again. Wowing crowds.
Now she looks so calm, so serene.
Alongside Olympic teammates Suni Lee, who placed second on balance beam, and Jordan Childs finishing 4th on the uneven bars. Biles' important message about taking care of yourself physically and mentally, reaching her young fans.
Well, I know that she had a hard time going out of the meet in the Olympics, so it's really exciting to see her come back and really persevere.
Biles grateful, writing on Instagram Sunday, "Tears of joy as I make this comeback, surrounded by the love you've shown. Thank you for believing in me." As for pursuing Olympic gold at next year's Paris Games.
My main goal was this and then championships, and then after that we'll look on to worlds and then we'll see, but so far it's heading in the right direction.
So speaking of the road ahead, guys, this Core Hydration Classic was the final qualifier ahead of the U.S. Gymnastics Championships in California later this month. And Biles' victory, the all-around victory here on Saturday, gives her a chance at the national team, also ahead of the World Championships, and of course gives her a shot at what would be her 3rd Olympic appearance in Paris next year. And it goes without saying, guys, we will all be watching and rooting for her. Savannah.
We will. Maggie, thank you. I want to turn now to Lori.
I think that's awesome that she openly talks about it in that position, and the twisties. I think the twisties really sound like fight, flight, or fear or freeze, and it really sounds like that's what happened. The brain basically freezes up. Those neurotransmitters that these athletes use to do their normal moves just freezes.
I know this sounds this is on a way lower level, but I was very, very close to becoming a professional pool player. I was really good. I grew up on a pool table, and it takes a lot of concentration, and there's a level of perfectionism there that it's a borderline danger. And especially what these athletes are going through, especially at that young age. That level of perfection that they're trained that they have to do in order to perform, especially at the Olympic level. That perfectionism, if you don't get that perfectly right, that can mess with your mental health. Now, if you also have, like our topic tonight, a little bit of OCD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, not having that right could be debilitating. Not being perfect. One things I had to learn, because I'm a perfectionist, I'm not necessarily OCD, but I have to remember that I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. But some people that with that mental health, that OCD, that's really hard for them to grasp onto that concept.
Chuck. Yeah. They definitely. Yeah, she was the Dr. Nassar survivor too. And if you remember right, he's the guy who got life sentence, for sexually assaulting all those athletes. And she actually testified in front of Congress.
Wow. No, I did not know that part. I didn't read that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's trauma on top of mental health. It's horrible. Hi, Timothy. I can't.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I don't know how it is to do that many flips in the air, and they said it's the twisties, or you lose the ability to track your movement through the air, and then it becomes dangerous because obviously if you land wrong, I mean, going that fast with that much power, you're gonna hurt yourself pretty bad.
And that's the point I started to get to, with the pool was, concentrating on on your game, on your spot, at that low of a level, and on a grounded plane, I can just having a mental thing where you miss your shot or something. I can imagine being at that level and up in the air doing these twists. That could really get hurt. Hi, Lilith. Hi, Vicky.
But anyway, I just wanted to take that was our new Mental Monday news segment. So I guess we're going to take a little bit out of the news, 5 to 10 minutes every week, and talk about somebody who's openly talking about mental health, like she is, like Simone Biles is.
And it also lets us know that, and thanks for that, Dan. I'm glad you introduced that to the show, because it introduces the commonality that, it's not just us talking about it. It shows that, hey, it's out there and it happens. It can happen to anybody,
Yeah. It doesn't matter how much money you have or successful you are, mental illness.
And look, and more power to her for her recovery. We talk a lot about what mental health and stuff is, but there's also recovery from mental health. Anybody can recover. It is possible, and there are no limits.
Right. And we should never dismiss somebody's trauma too. I don't know what her trauma is. I'm sure it's the Dr. Lassar and some other things in her life, and that she deals with. Especially being, I know that when you get that successful, it's really hard, and there's a lot of people that have downfalls because of that public spotlight.
Right. And that's, they're human too, and that's where we need to be able to, humanize them people and not look at them. I try to not put anybody on a pedestal, because if that person is on a pedestal and I look so far up to them, that they fall, then I fall, that's a dangerous place to be. I like to keep everybody on an even level playing field. We're all humans. We're all created equal. Hey, Joshua.
I can't find my clips.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I don't know where they went. YouTube. I'm trying to find my my lists. Oh, there they are. Now I found them.
Too many tabs open.
No, there wasn't enough tabs open on the YouTube.
Oh, gotcha.
They have tabs on the side here to find it. But we got 16 people in here. Don't forget to hit those reaction buttons. We're gonna start talking about OCD now. That's tonight's topic. And OCD. What I do? I'm trying to turn that music down.
I forgot my book. I will be right back, guys.
That's fine. And we're gonna, as always, play a little short video to kind of explains the neuroscience of OCD, and then we're going to kind of go through a longer video after we discuss it a little bit. And that's not what I wanted to play, but I wanted to wait for him to get back here. I've already planned it. Kind of wanted him to get back here we played it so he can listen to it as well. But does anybody out here in our crowd deal with OCD? Does anybody have anything that something in particular that kind of bothers them? I know some people have some weird OCDs, and it's not really weird, but it's just something that we all kind of deal with as humans. My OCD hits with most employment history I've had. Yeah. Is that the DMC, whatever?
DSM-5, yeah.
DSM-5, yeah. Well, I was going to play this 2-minute video real fast. It kind of explains the neuroscience of OCD.
Perfect.
And then we'll go from there. Oh, it's on mute.
Obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD, is a condition characterized by obsessions and/or compulsions. Obsessions are recurrent unwanted thoughts, while compulsions are repetitive behaviors or mental acts often performed in response to obsessions, typically with the goal of reducing anxiety and discomfort. It's important to note that OCD is often very distressing and is not just a preference for orderliness, as the term is sometimes used to imply. The neuroscience of OCD is not completely understood, and it's likely that different neural circuits may be involved based on a person's age and symptom profile, among other factors. One supported perspective on the neuroscience of OCD, however, points to a prominent role for circuits that connect the orbitofrontal cortex with a group of structures called the basal ganglia. According to this perspective, increased activity in the orbitofrontal...
If you remember, the basal ganglia is the organ that holds the ego, and it was that organ described that we in our Psychonaut files, where we talked about how the ego is disintegrated, and it's that organ right there that actually they think holds our personality. So that's interesting that it has something to do with OCD as well.
And a lot of mental disorders.
Yeah.
Cortex is associated with a heightened focus on concerns that spawn obsessive thoughts. When the orbitofrontal cortex is activated in response to something the brain perceives as a danger or concern, it communicates with the basal ganglia. A simplified version of basal ganglia circuitry suggests it consists of two opposing pathways: an excitatory pathway called the direct pathway and an inhibitory pathway called the indirect pathway. When the orbitofrontal cortex sends a signal to the basal ganglia, it often leads to an action designed to alleviate the discomfort caused by the perceived danger. That action is mediated by the direct pathway. In a healthy person, the indirect pathway then inhibits further action. In someone with OCD, however, the direct pathway is overexcitable, drowning out the activity of the indirect pathway and causing a difficult time switching to a different behavior or turning focus away from the concern causing the discomfort. Thus, according to this model, overactivity in the orbitofrontal cortex and the direct pathway of the basal ganglia increases the occurrence of both obsessions and compulsions.
Huh. That probably is why psychedelics treat it so well, because it's an overexcited neuron. It sounds like, it really sounds like, their neurons in there, it's kind of overexcited, and a very strong neuron that kind of needs to be weakened.
Right. One of these weeks, I want to find a good picture of the midbrain and all the components that it shows, and because the midbrain is like it's like your message center, where everything starts and everything, and it sends different messages to different parts of your brain to react to different things and stuff.
Yeah.
And when that midbrain's messed up in different parts, your message system doesn't work right. And that's why a lot of us have mental health.
Yeah.
To get a basic general, generalization.
Yeah, bud, you're always welcome to message me, and I can try to message you back when I get time sometime. Tools must be in order. I'm a neat freak too, but I think that really came from my mother, because all my brothers are neat freaks. We all have clean houses, and we all keep things in order. But I think that was our mother kind of instilling that in us, because our mom was kind of a neat freak. So sometimes people confuse the cleanliness of your house with being OCD, but more or less it could be something that you were heavily taught, as a kid.
Yeah, and it could be, well, I don't know. And Chuck, I'm not trying to make fun of you. I don't know if he's joking or not. He's a jokester, so. But I mean, to be serious, this is a good example of OCD. The littlest slight things, like that, could really set you off. It's like, man, put your fucking socks on, please. But I get it. Certain things like that, I have to do certain things, some things a certain way, and if they're not done a certain way, I gotta stop and do it over again. Like Sheldon on Big Bang Theory, he opens that door 3 times or closes it 3 times, or knocks on the door 3 times. Penny, Penny, Penny.
Yeah.
I like when she knocks back and goes, Sheldon, Sheldon, Sheldon.
Yeah, he does have some OCDs. Got somebody in there as a Facebook user.
Yeah.
I think that's
he is a very good example of someone experiencing mental health and obsessive-compulsive disorder, especially.
Yeah, clutter bothers me. Yeah, clutter in the wrong places bother me. I guess I have like a room that's cluttered, but I don't. It's okay in that room, but he's not joking at all.
Hey, I that's why I said it that way. I wasn't sure if he was or not, buddy. Not making fun at all. But yeah, there's certain things that it's and somebody said it's a compulsion, which that's a big part of it, and that's a lot, like the knocking thing, or I have to I don't know, it's weird. Sometimes driving down the road, I gotta see the mile marker. If I don't see the mile marker, I have to see the next one to find out where I'm at. I don't know, it's just a weird thing.
Yeah.
Just little things like that, there's a lot of things I have in my life that are like that. I used to have I'm not so much of a clean freak anymore. When I was a bachelor, everything was clean. My wife's not the most clean. She's kind of a pack rat, so I kind of lost a lot of that. And my OCD sort of went out the window if I had it at all. But, I used to have things like on the table set in a certain way. I'd go to the bathroom, I'd come back, and she'd have it all messed up. And I remember it would irritate me, in a funny way, but and deep down, I'm like, God, I wish you would quit fucking doing that. But, it's part of that compulsion to have it right there, the way I wanted it.
We're all weird in our own way. Yeah, would be weird. Would be weird or if we could study like humans 300 years ago, like did they have OCD issues like we have today? Like comparing the civilization then, or is it? I wonder if it's something that kind of evolved and we all kind of have an OCD.
Yeah, to study like a community of cavemen, so to speak, even going that far, and, see if they had any compulsions or some, oddities. That made
honestly, I think they probably had less because, life was so much simpler. It was really about staying alive and gathering and then keeping the home, the homestead, alive. And so you had a lot less stresses in. So I bet you they had a lot less OCD issues. Because it seems like the OCD starts when that neuron in the brain just starts to really get too strong of a connection.
Mm-hmm.
Which is,
and that word obsession is a big part of it too, because an obsession wipes away any and every other thought, and that obsession is your survival, pretty much.
Yeah, like checking the stove 20 times and make sure it's off. Like some people have that. Mine's more anxiety. Actually, before I leave the house, I check before it's off. So it's not really an OCD. It's more like an anxiety. I'm afraid the house is going to blow up.
Hold that comment there. Yeah, at least, or not you. I meant hers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's rough, Elisa. I haven't been around a lot of autism. I have a friend of mine that just had a son diagnosed with autism. Well, he might have been 4 now or something like that. But she's having a rough time with him, and that's something I want to look into and learn about to kind of help her out, because she's a single mom. She was the maid of honor at my wife's at our wedding. So she's always been a good friend, and she just she's kind of lost, not knowing what to do. So I'd like to learn more about that. I might touch base with you from time to time, Elisa, just to ask some questions, if you don't mind. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. Yes, somebody else moving their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my wife was a Trianery.
Yeah, that might be why Elisa may, because
I guess there's a balance there, Elisa, somewhere. That's just finding that happy medium. And you sound like a real good mom. So just Just be you.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
You wear a hat to bed, Chuck Rock? What kind of hat? Like a knit hat or like a...
Dude, I knocked a guy out in high school for flipping my hat off. I'm the same way. I don't wear hats anymore. A lot of it was for that reason. Plus, I just don't like the way the hats are made these days. But yeah, I don't like my hat being touched. I don't like people putting my hat, like even on a hard hat. If somebody grabbed my hard hat by accident and put it on, I'd have to wipe it out, real good, and then I'd put it on. Even though I'm all sweaty and nasty too.
King's crown. The hat.
Can't mess with the crown.
Yeah, that would give me anxiety too. And then I'd probably form an OCD.
Yeah.
If somebody, that's got to be hard. Ted, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, me too.
That's always a good way to do. Find people on Facebook who have something in common, and same way with mental health. That can help a lot too. If there's a lot of mental health groups on Facebook too, that can really be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back a long time ago they did. Hey, where's the ball cap to? Huh?
I don't really know.
Ed, remember, Dan, record your stove. Next event, you're going to be gone for a while. Well,
yeah, I can relate, Chuck. I really can, buddy.
Yeah, the stove thing is actually, when I went on vacation, it was weird. I checked that the stove was off, and I know it was off. And then, like, 2 days into my vacation, I had like a 5-minute anxiety attack, wondering if I turned the stove off, even though I did.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've done that. Leave the house, and
that was anxiety. That's anxiety issue that I have about worrying about things I shouldn't have.
Yeah, and I even warned the guy, Chuck. I told him, I said, look, because he come up and he just tipped it. And I was like, man, I told you, Phil, don't touch my hat. I don't like people fuck with my hat, blah, blah, blah. And he said, he did it again and flipped it off, and I dropped him. And teacher walked up, and teacher says, he told you twice, and walked away. Like, cool. I thought I was going to the office in trouble. But I didn't jump on top of him and beat on him or nothing, but wanted to, kind of. But but that was back in my mean days. Yeah, believe it or not, I used to be mean.
Anxiety is a mother, yep.
Yes, ma'am. Or sir. Facebook user, I don't know.
I don't know. I think he's probably coming over from Misfit Islands.
Right on, Chuck's old lady. He's not alone. Definitely a dude, he said. Okay, right on, bro.
But we'll start playing this other video I have from the same lady who always get Katie Morton. She always describes.
I need to get on and subscribe to her
so well, and she has a 9-minute video here about obsessive compulsive disorder, but you wouldn't think you'd be able to say.
Shit.
I'm losing my internet a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know if that was you or me.
It's always weird. It goes down to 1 bar. I mean, I'm about 160 megabytes a second over here, so I got whatever. I have fiber at my house.
Good man, Chuck. Good man.
So even when it goes down a little bit, it's still pretty fast. They went back full. I wonder if somebody's trying to steal my internet. Why it does that?
Hey, you never know. You live in
went down 1 bar and then we shot back up.
Do you live by a business anywhere where there's a parking lot?
I live across the street from a nursing home.
Okay.
So when I can pick up like 6 or 7 Wi-Fi's signals. So there's a lot of other people.
I ain't gonna lie, if I'm sitting in a parking lot somewhere and I'm flipping through trying to get Wi-Fi, if I find someone's I can hop onto, I will. I'll just jump on it.
Mine's password protected, so.
Yeah, I can't hack anything, but I mean, if there's no password, I'll jump on it and be like, cool.
Yeah. But as always, people go over here and watch and subscribe to Katie Morton. She has so many videos. She literally has. She has 1.4. She has 1,400 videos. That's a lot of videos.
Yeah.
I didn't even know she had that many.
Disorder is, and it's kind of.
Let's start this over again. I think I'm in the right one. Yep. So we'll play this video and then we'll kind of talk about it as we go along, as always, and we'll go from there.
Hey everyone, today's video topic comes by popular demand, and you've been waiting forever and ever, and many of you are like, Katie, are you ever gonna put this video out? And the answer is yes. I'm putting it out right now. Today, you're watching it. Hello. And today's topic is obsessive-compulsive disorder, or OCD. So stay tuned.
Mm-hmm. I like her logo.
OCD is a disorder that we have recurrent obsessions and compulsions. That's what the obsessive-compulsive disorder is. And it's kind of hard to explain. Just, it is this. So the way I'm going to explain it is, why do we do it? What is it that we do? And how often are we doing these things? So the obsessions, these are the thoughts. Think about it. If I'm obsessed with something, I think about it all the time. It's all I want to do. It's all, it takes up all my time. And in the DSM, they require that it takes up at least an hour of your time doing these things, the thinking and the doing, the obsessions and the compulsions, to get this diagnosis. So the obsessions can be any recurrent thought. So it's like, I may, a lot of people have obsessions about doing things a number of times, whether it's cleaning, you're washing your hands, it can be turning off and on the lights, it can be locking, unlocking the door, it can be putting your shoes on, taking them off, it can be brushing your hair a certain number of times. You can see where it can be anything. Everybody's different. Everybody obsession. And the compulsions are the acts that we do. My compulsion would be cleaning. Now, usually obsessions are pretty specific, so they'll be like a certain thing. So I'm obsessed with being clean, having a clean toilet. So I may obsess about it, like I can't sit down and go pee. I have to pee really bad. I can't sit because I haven't cleaned it. I have to get my Clorox wipe. I have to wipe around the toilet bowl 5 times this way, 5 times that way, throw it away, get a new one. That would be my compulsion, all of those actions. The obsession is that it has to be clean. The compulsion is making it clean, okay? And these can be anything. And the way that it pertains to our eating disorder or our self-harm is that usually, we'll talk eating disorders first because it's just easier to separate them. So if we have an OCD component and we also have an eating disorder, our OCD can sometimes, and forgive me for the term, but it feeds our eating disorder, because the obsessions will be about food and the compulsions will be about food or exercise. And you can see how it kind of ties together. A lot of my eating disorder patients will have rituals, which is actually kind of a compulsion, where they do things in a certain order, or they eat things of a certain color or type, or all sorts of things you can imagine. And so you can see how those are linked and how they can feed into one another and what we do. And the same with our self-harm. A lot of people have rituals that come around self-harm and things they have to do leading up to it, and it has to be done in a specific order, or we have to start all over. And I have a lot of patients who will cut certain numbers of times, or odd number, even number. I have patients who don't even like odd or even numbers. And so anything with an odd or even number on it is bad. And they meet people with birthdays. I mean, it can be, you can see how these obsessions can go all over the place. And that's how it links to our other disorders, our eating disorders, our self-harm, as well as our depression, because it can take up a lot of time. Now, the DSM just requires that it takes up at least an hour a day. But imagine if you're spending an hour a day, most people that I actually see is probably more than an hour if we add it all up all the time. But the best thing for OCD, in my opinion, is another acronym, because we're so full of acronyms, is CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes.
And I could do another video on this topic as a whole, what it is. There are tons of wonderful articles. If you just Google cognitive behavioral or CBT therapy, describing it and how it works. But a lot of it is getting us out of this cycle where our brain thinks this, and we have to do the compulsion to release that anxiety that comes along with all the obsessions. And so CBT can kind of break that link and allow us to slowly fight the urges. And I think that's why I talk a lot about talking back to that voice, because that can even work with OCD. If we talk back to that voice, and we can even, for some people, I know it works for some of my clients, to logically talk themselves out of eating disorder behaviors. And that can also work for OCD. There is a little difference. If any of you have ever heard of obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, the difference between obsessive-compulsive personality disorder and OCD that I'm talking about today is when people have the personality disorder, they actually enjoy it. People with OCD don't enjoy it. This is really hard on us. It's extremely stressful and anxiety provoking. It takes up so much of our time, and it makes everything really overwhelming, and it can make us late for things, and it can make people frustrated with us, and we just feel really bad about it. But people with the personality disorder are like, it's the principle of it. Like, I do this because I have to. You don't have to. And they have no problem telling people to just go away. Like, I'll deal with this on my own. It's my own thing. There's no remorse for it. So that's a little bit of differentiation. So if you've had the personality disorder or you've had OCD, you can tell where the differences lie. Now, what do we do once we got this diagnosis and now we know we have OCD? Like I said before, we take CBT therapy if we can. Most therapists who are worth their weight at all can do CBT therapy. It's very simple. It's the only therapy that's actually statistically proven to be significant, and we actually get improvement in the symptoms, and it's actually recordable. There aren't really many therapies that can say that. So we all learn CBT in school, or at least I did, and I practiced it in many of my practicum and internship sites. So find someone who can do it and do it well. Get yourself a workbook on it. I will link on my website into my recommended reads. There's a widget at the bottom of my website, katiemorton.com, and I'll put a book in there for you, a workbook for CBT. And also, please get into a group. Groups are great for this. It's great to know that you're not alone, that all this anxiety and all the worry that you have and the kind of negativity that you feel, it's nice to know you're not alone in that. And other people have that same experience and they've been able to get over it. So I would encourage you to look into that. And also seeing a psychiatrist. Medication can also help with this. I know not all of you like medication, and I know that it makes some of us very nervous, but we have to get a full treatment team together so that we can help ourselves a little better. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will continue to touch on this topic and other anxiety disorders. Give this a like if you want more information, if you like this video, and leave your comments and helpful hints below, because we can all help one another. That's what's so great about our community. And I will see you next time as we work towards a healthy mind and a healthy body. You ready?
I am subscribed to her.
That's a really good explanation of explaining things that are way more complex. And that's why I share the videos, even though, I'm sharing somebody else's knowledge. It's all about sharing the knowledge with everybody else. Because I can't explain it that well. I could write that all down and I wouldn't be able to explain it as well as she does to help us all comprehend and understand it.
Yeah, that's not something I was ever great as explaining disorders. I could read it out of that book all day long, but I'm better at giving scenarios or lived experience. And with OCD, I don't have a lot of it. I mean, I see a lot of it in me, especially after watching these videos. But that's what's good about this information, whether it be yours, mine, or theirs, is it brings awareness, and that's a big part of what we're doing here, is trying to bring awareness.
And here's her page right here, if anybody wants to follow her, it's Katie Morton. She's got 1.27. She is a licensed therapist, author, and public speaker. So she offers a lot of very good videos. She has 1,400 videos, so she has a lot, and she has 120 million views. So there's a reason people are probably viewing her page, because she does explain things very well.
I got a page I want to share real quick, Dan. I don't know if I can from here. Let me see if I can. I think I can. There we go. This page here, guys. There we go. This website here is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. This is countrywide. If you want to know anything about any mental health or anything, you can go here and find just about any kind of information that you want that is current. These people, this organization funds a lot of the mental health facilities across the nation. They also come up with the working definitions of most mental health diagnoses and stuff, or things like the working definition of recovery, or the working definition of this or that, whatever it may be as far as mental health. A lot of it they come up with. They're not the ones that write the diagnostic service manual, the DSM, or statistical manual. This is what most therapists use to diagnose somebody. It tells about the diagnosis, stuff like that. But SAMHSA is one of the best places you can go to, and it's got just about anything you need to know about mental health. And it's just that, samhsa.com, I believe, or .gov, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's got a lot of good information on mental health and recovery. So, and if you need to find something in your area, you can also go there, and it'll help you get to a facility in your area, whatever your county is, whatever your state is. It'll tell you different things about the laws, and there's so much information there, guys, about mental health and substance abuse. Go check it out if you need to.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that there.
You bet. I wanted to do that the other week, and I forgot to, and just kept forgetting. It popped in my head.
Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight and sharing your stories and your comments. And also, don't forget to hit that reaction button. Help us get out there a little more. OCD is an interesting thing. It's kind of can be a debilitating thing for people.
I guess for me, it's, being a big trait of an addict or alcoholic, whatever you want to say, is an obsession, because there's a couple things that bring up the criteria for an addiction, and that's obsession of the mind followed by an allergy of the body. I obsess about my addiction. When I don't have it, it creates an allergy, which is an obsession. When I do have it, it makes me crave more. That craving is also an allergy. You don't think of like a rash allergy. It's a manifest allergy inside you. But it's an obsession all the same, and that's one of them things that that I try to get away from, and I try to be more responsive than reactive, and that's part of what I do to help me focus on not being so compulsive or obsessive, is reacting instead of responding instead of reacting.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Kate.
We don't think you're weird here. We think
no.
I'm a clean freak too, and I don't like. I'm really weird about hair in a bathtub, so I don't like other people's hair in a tub. I don't even have any hair, so I never have hair. But I live by myself, so anytime I go to a hotel or go on vacation and share a tub, I feel really weird about it. It's awesome.
Anger management helps a lot too. It's not a class that I took, It's a class that I needed, but throughout my recovery, I learned to deal with it in a healthy way. So,
yeah. Yeah, you can just message me, Karina.
Yeah, he's a good guy, guys. He don't bite.
I try to message back. Sometimes I'm a pretty busy guy. So.
Yeah, he does have a few businesses, guys. So be patient with him. He will get back to you.
Or get stuck somewhere where I don't have good service like I did today, or I am this week where I'm working.
I think I messaged you about 3 times before we actually started talking on a regular.
Yeah. Well, here comes an ambulance. It's gonna get loud. Oh, that's a fire truck.
I hear it. Iron hole. Yeah, this blonde, she house is on fire and she's got kids in there. She calls the fire department. She says, "Hey, fire department, I got a fire. Get over here quick." They said, "Well, how do we get there?" She says, "Duh, big red truck."
Yeah.
But
there's actually another short video here too. We're playing 5 tips for how to deal with OCD, and I think that these were really helpful. It's just a 3-minute video, and these 5 tips may help somebody out there how to deal with it.
Awesome.
And that's always helpful.
I got a couple laughs
From
out of my
Psych
dad.
Hub and Columbia University Department of Psychiatry, and presented by HCA
we presented
Healthcare.
some of their stuff.
You ask, we answer.
The most important tips that I would encourage someone with OCD to tap into are, number 1, ask yourself every day, would I rather live my life with risk or have to live my life like this? Would I rather live my life with some risk or have to live my life confined to this internal set of rules and have to yield to my anxiety? The second big piece that I would factor in is asking yourself, am I approaching or avoiding? So you really want to ask, am I avoiding things or finding a way to escape my anxiety or temporarily get rid of my anxiety? Because that's usually going to aggravate my anxiety in the long term. Can I approach this? Can I make space for this? Which leads to the third skill, which we touched on earlier, which is if you can make room for this, it will take up less space. So if you can make room for something scary and you can really own it and stare it in its face and talk through it and process it emotionally, it will take up less space in your life than trying to restrict something or keep something at bay. Another really important skill, I call it make it worse to make it better. And I definitely recommend doing this like with a therapist as your sideline coach. But the instinct with OCD or with obsessions is you want reassurance and you want to get rid of this feeling or sensation or thought. But if you can actually exaggerate the thought and kind of put bells and whistles on the thought and take it far, like take it to your core fear, a lot of times making it worse to make it better really, really gets rid of the fear or the distress itself. Tip number 5, stay with the thought, play with the thought. So if you're afraid that because you made a typo in your email and all of a sudden you're catastrophizing that everyone's going to think that you're not smart and you're going to get fired, so maybe agree with the thought in this case, which nobody ever thinks to do. If you can flip that script, it changes the valence of the thought a lot, and you can actually, that's where you have room for humor. You can find a way to make it worse, to make it better, and stay with the thought and play with the thought. A lot of the time, it will really, really help take some of the sting or the gravity out of the thought.
Thanks for watching. If you have questions or topics you'd like to see in future episodes, drop those.
Interesting. A couple extra little tips there to help navigate. I think the fact that being aware of when something's happening and being aware helps a lot. When you have some kind of mental breakdown or maybe an OCD, just actually sit there and think about it.
It takes more energy sometimes to fight against something than it is to embrace it and go and work with it. I know if I'm trying to walk upstream, it's a lot harder than I just, go with the flow, and learn as I'm going. And that's one of the things that mental health taught me is I am the expert of me. I know me better than anybody in the world. Now, that being said, I don't always make the greatest decisions based on that. But, I know how I tick. And that's why whenever I'm talking to my therapist or whatever, I can relay these messages to them to help them help me. And that's where, you know, when it comes to our therapist, being totally honest with them is really, really important.
Sure.
I need to.
I've gotten a lot better at knowing, understanding when manic episodes come and stopping and actually thinking. That's when I have bipolar manic episodes.
I ain't gonna lie, I had a weird thought when I was seeing Columbia come up there. Not trying to brag or anything, but I turned down a full scholarship to Columbia and Harvard and a couple other ones, just because I didn't want to go to school. I got my certification, and I even quit my 2-year college because I got my certification. I just wanted to get certified in my lived experience. But I turned down some really, really good scholarships, you know. One, because I'm married and I didn't want to do all the moving and stuff like that. I could have done some stuff online, but I'm not a big online. You know, I could go down the road of excuses. But the bottom line was I got to where I wanted to go. But sometimes it still gives me a little regret when I see things like, you know, Harvard or Columbia or something. I'm like, damn, should I have went there? Should I have done that? You know, I don't beat myself up about it, but I'm just like, huh. It just makes me think once in a while. Yes, working on the triggers. That's a big thing, Josh.
Right.
Being aware of triggers. It's our alarm system. And only I know my triggers. Every place has its, or wait, how's that go? There's a place for everything, and everything should be in its place.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer in that. Now, like I said, it's on going to hell since I've got married. I love my wife to death, but she's turned me into a clusterfuck area. Like, in my office, and it's not her fault. Don't get me wrong. I just get lazy about stuff, and then I get overwhelmed. Like, I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of my office. That is a mess. Look at that. That literally drives me nuts, and I don't even want to come in here some days. Now, if you go upstairs in my grow room, it's spotless. I mean, it is clean, you know, so it's just where my priority is. What, you know, it all lies in me and what I need to prioritize. And also the overwhelmness, you know, sometimes I need to just get in there and get it. I was told one time that sometimes we got to do things we don't like to do. And it sucks. It's just, I'm going to be straight up. It sucks. But sometimes we have to embrace the suck to get to the glory, you know. So eventually I'm going to have to embrace this suck and get to the glory.
Actually, I was reading some more stuff about OCD, and they actually use the term rumination to describe the thoughts of OCD. And I think I've read that before too. Rumination, it means thinking in circles, which is kind of what OCD is.
Elisa said, my OCD doesn't really bother me. Well, I guess it makes me exhausted. Yeah, you know, I can imagine. And just looking, I'm learning that I probably have OCD too, in some of these obsessions and these, especially when it's feeling bad about things it was talking about. I'm gonna rewatch some videos. But anyway, you know, mental health itself can be exhausting, Lisa. You know, trying to, especially if we try to battle it, like that lady was saying. You know, if we try and hold that, she had her arm up there, you know, trying to fight it off. And if I'm trying to fight something, you know, it's taking twice the energy to hold it back than it would be, you know, just trying to embrace it and trying to learn how to manage it, which is hard. And I know you're struggling with that, but you'll get there, hon. We all get there eventually, little by slowly, one day at a time.
Yeah. It says here that OCD is research tells us that you have OCD. There's too much brain activity in the area that detects errors, and too little activity in the areas that tell us to stop compulsive behaviors. And that's exactly why the psychedelics probably work so well. There's so many studies going. Well, there's one big study that happened in Europe on OCD, and they actually there's a documentary on YouTube you can watch. It's about the guy who had OCD, who had a trip, and it talks about what happened during that. So I think that psychedelics are going to play a really big role in future treatment of OCD.
Absolutely, hoarding fits into this, Kim. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll fix that too. Like that said, it's little brain activity in the part of our brain that tells us this is wrong, and too much in the part that holds on to the compulsion. And you can see that in that movie Hoarders, when people have so many issues letting go. What seems something so minor is so big to them because they can't let go of that, because that connection to their brain is so strong.
Hi, Becca. Katie, I would love that help, but I don't know that I could let people help me clean my own stuff. So yeah, this is where I'm going with this OCD. I'm learning about me. This is awesome. It's teaching me, the farther we get into this episode, the more I'm learning about myself on the OCD. I love awareness, but damn it can be a little scary. Ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, his name was Ben. There's actually a documentary talking about Ben, his psychedelic experience with Cybosone OCD. Yeah, there's so many videos. There's actually a lot of stories. If you search OCD and magic mushrooms, there's so many different stories. Because it works, and people talk about it all the time.
Absolutely.
But obviously, anything that has anything to do with neurons, magic mushrooms has a chance to cure. So I'm really, really hopeful for the future of treatment for this stuff, because there's not much treatment for it right now. There really isn't. It's all therapy based. There's not any medication that can fix it really. So having something on the market medication that really could correct it is exciting for the future.
Becca says she's acquired a box pile again. Yeah, everyone does have a level of OCD. I believe that too, Kim. Excuse me. Even to the little kid that has to have his toolbox or pencil box packed a certain way, or they have to have their backpack a certain way, or or just different compulsions that they have, or obsessions.
Right. I had a story up. Where did it go? Oh yeah, if you watch the show on How to Change Your Mind on Netflix, have you seen that show? It's a documentary about psychedelics.
No, I keep wanting to.
So that guy, there's the magic mushroom episode. There's a guy in there, and he has OCD. And he does a trip, and it talks about what he experiences. And when he comes back from it, he literally OCD it's just gone. It disappears. He never has any OCD again. And they interview him 18 months later, and he says that it just went away. It's really, he said he talks about his trip. It was a really, really mind-blowing trip he had that changed his life. And he came back understanding himself better. And he only did one. He only did one trip. Said all he needed was to fix the issue. So that's amazing, We cured him. He never had an issue again. He only had to take it once. That's what's amazing about these things. It's you don't have to take them but once, and they can cure your brain forever,
Yeah, it's just like a hardwiring, reset your motherboard.
Yeah. And I'm glad they finally had a mainstream episode about psychedelics. So if anybody has not seen that documentary on Netflix, it's definitely worth watching, especially the magic mushroom episode. It's a 4-part episode about different psychedelics. But the magic mushroom one is definitely eye-opening.
What's the name of it?
How to Change Your Mind.
Okay, yeah.
It's based off of.
You said it's got 4 different parts.
Yeah, it's based off of this book. So they took the documentary and made it off of this book. And this is the new science that psychedelics teaches us about consciousness, dying, addiction, depression, and transcendence.
I think I did see that. Does it have one like mushrooms, LSD, DMT, and something else?
Yeah.
Like 4 different. Okay.
This book is like 6 years old, but it's still #1 bestseller right now. I think because people want to learn about psychedelics. And
right.
It's a #1 New York Times bestseller. It's a long book, so if you do, I recommend the audiobook. If anybody has audiobooks, it's on there. And you can listen to it on there because it's really long, so I'd rather listen to it over a couple days. DMT is I'm not really familiar with DMT, but it's made off of a root and it's over this process, but it's basically the next thing beyond mushrooms. So you have mushrooms and then you have DMT, and DMT is going to be a lot more extreme experience, but it's only going to last like 15 minutes. Magic mushrooms tend to last anywhere from 4 to 8 hours. So DMT is going to be a lot more hardcore experience. You're going to hallucinate. A lot of people see aliens when they're on DMT, like creatures talking to them about, you need to save the planet, all this other stuff. People experience.
You know me, I looked it up.
Because I watched there's a documentary on Amazon by a comedian, and he starts the whole show off by painting his face with face paint. And he's like, I'm just about to do the world's strongest psychedelic. And he smokes DMT, and then he says an alien appears in front of him. And he's sitting there talking to the alien, and the alien the alien's like, I'm trying to tell you a story. You need to save the planet. This is an important thing. You need to quit destroying things. And he's like, this alien was just like telling him, he needs to help fix the planet.
It says on here, I Googled it. The first thing that popped up, it said, this is June 29th, 2022. Dimethyltryptamine is a hallucinogen tryptamine drug that occurs naturally in various plants such as Psychotropia verdis, Psychotria viridis.
Hard word.
Yeah, it is. Or peyote, different stuff like that. It says naturally occurs in many plant species. It also can be made in a laboratory. That's what I was looking for.
No. Fractionless. Sorry to hear that, Vicky. Hope your tree fell on my daughter's TRL trailer. Oh, that's what she means.
Oh, wow.
But she's okay. Got some strong winds. But I forgot to tell you, Rostin, that I told you that my friend hit that tornado in my city, and her house is still standing. It avoided that part of town, apparently.
Did it? Wow, that's good.
Side of town, her house didn't really even get touched.
Well, I'm glad to hear she's okay then. Well, and her house too, but I mean, I'm glad you heard from her.
But we can actually, I have the How to Change Your Mind trailer here. If anybody's ever seen it, I'll just play the trailer here and get people excited, because I love people. People need to watch this. It's a really good documentary on Netflix, and a lot of people do have Netflix.
We've all heard really scary things about psychedelics. They scrambled your chromosomes. They caused you to hop off of buildings. It was all terrifying. So I took a look at the true effects of these substances. I was very surprised at what I found. Mescaline, psilocybin, MDMA, LSD.
For a lot of people, this was the bad and evil drugs, but the opposite is true. There are really people who could benefit.
Can't wait to see what's going to happen.
What if mental health problems like OCD, PTSD, alcoholism, and depression could all be helped?
I'm a fairly conservative, sober scientist, but I've seen it work.
And this medicine here starts to help heal.
Some of my friends said, don't do it.
Native American
psychedelic therapy has the potential to revolutionize mental health care.
They broaden the lens and you realize, oh my goodness, there's all of this. I didn't know.
It's like a light bulb has gone off.
My story is the same story as millions of veterans. Where my story becomes unique is I took MDMA 3 times. It saved my life.
I really did short circuit this suicidal period that I was in.
It's not like magic bullet that everything's perfect.
But just think how much human suffering could be relieved.
This is the tool for understanding the mind.
María Sabina fue una mujer que, por así, le abrió puerta a todo el mundo.
This tension continues to grow.
If the drug war ends, what's the peace look like?
We're all striving to have good health and happiness.
This medicine helped me stand on my own 2 feet.
True science probes the very frontiers of human knowledge. And that's where psychedelic research is right now.
And you can see they're going to talk about ergot, cybosol mushrooms, saffrosis, which I'm not too familiar with, and then peyote in these 4 episodes. But
ergot is actually where kind of where LSD came from. Whenever Albert Hoffman was dealing with it back in, I think, 1938 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's somehow the deal with the ergot. I don't know exactly, but something like that.
That stuff, I mean, the future of medicine is bright with these psychedelic substances. This stuff works. And not only does it work, but it cures the issue at the base of the brain, like why your neurons are not working correctly, and this stuff corrects it right where it happens. This is on Netflix as well, yes. And if you haven't watched it, it's been out for a while now, so it's really, really good.
Yeah, I don't know that I watched the whole thing. I know I started watching it. My memory sucks. That's one thing, had that head injury back in 2006. I can't retain stuff. I forget a lot.
I can't remember the name of that other show either on Amazon.
On Prime?
It's a comedy. Stand-up does.
That comedy guy you were talking about that painted his face.
Yeah.
Wasn't Jeff Bloom, was it?
I can't remember the name of the show, but he does stand-up, and his stand-up includes psychedelics stand-up, but he actually educates people while being funny. So it's not a stand-up special, but it's a comedian who does a documentary about how psychedelics changed his life.
Gotcha.
Kind of woke him up, and then how he does his stand-up, based on it. Because he basically makes fun of himself. He talks about how he did so many psychedelics that he went to the psych ward, and he really did. And he said all he did was sleep for 5 days in the psych ward, and they let him out. That's all he needed to do, because he apparently was doing psychedelics and not sleeping. So he was becoming delusional with the psychedelics, starting to believe the experiences that were happening. Yeah, you can get a hold of me after the show. I do have some plans after the show, so it might be till tomorrow I can message back. So far, there are no known long-term effects on the brain. People who do take it long-term seem to have very good brains. Some of the other acid, some of the other psychedelics like acid and LSD may have an effect on the brain long-term.
I did a lot of acid, so if that tells you anything, Kim. Yeah.
But the magic mushrooms seem to have more of a natural effect with the brain. They seem to be very natural, part of the brain chemistry when they enter it, because they interact with the brain so well, and that I believe that they've been used in our evolution. I think that they've been used for thousands of years, by our ancestors to heal their brains as well.
And what might, I don't know about anybody else, but from my understanding of of the psychedelics and recovery, is what my goal is to take a hero dose once in a while to kind of get a reset until I get to the point to where I deal with what I've needed to deal with in my past, my trauma and all that stuff, and do the healing, and just and in between do the microdoses, and of course if I get any questions, I can always ask Dan, his opinion and stuff like that, But I think, I don't think, just with anything, if you do it in moderation, I don't think there'd be a long-term effect that would hurt you.
2019, I was suicidal, depressed, and anxious. And I'm in a better place than I was then 4 years ago. And I think about the bad effects on the brain sometimes, but then I think about how much further along and healed I am as a person and how better my life is because of these substances. And so I kind of put that aside. And I know we probably will do an episode on Psychonaut Files about the negative long-term effects, maybe, or effects of, magic mushrooms. Because some people maybe shouldn't take them. They may have a bad effect on them, but the long-term effects on a normal human brain seem to be very safe. Natural all the way. It's what I teach too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I went to. I quit taking any psychotropes, any kind of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. If you go back to the long-term effects on your brain, just think about the long-term effects of pharmaceuticals on your brain. Some of those are really bad. And
I think there's studies now, Kim. I'm sorry if you're going ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's all I was going to say. Is some of the prescription medicines can be really bad for your brain long term.
She had mentioned there. Where was it? Yeah, that one.
Yeah, it seems to actually prevent it. From my understanding, now I know that there's still a lot of studies to do on all that, but it seems to cause the neurons in the brain to stay kind of fresh and not so stale. I know that when you get older, that film kind of builds on your brain, and that actually what causes Alzheimer's. I can't remember the name of it. I have it right here. That word. Amyloid beta. So amyloid beta films, builds on the brain, and that's what causes Alzheimer's and other things. But I think the substance, and I think maybe science and research will prove that this stuff keeps the film from actually producing on the brain, which eventually gives you Alzheimer's. But it'll be interesting when they start to do those kind of studies. But you can take lion's mane, and you actually take lion's mane. If you take lion's mane with a magic mushroom, it actually enhances the effects of it. And there was a great famous mycologist who actually did a lot of research on that. And he basically said that the lion's mane will enhance the effects. They basically enhance the effects of each other. So the magic mushrooms enhance the effects of the lion's mane, and the lion's mane affects the magic mushrooms.
Yes, Josh says, "Smell the organic soil hit my brain with love."
Yeah, mushrooms are processed through the liver. There are ways to get it to the liver faster if you mix it with lemons and do something called lemon tech that bypasses the what your stomach has to do. It can actually converts it into another molecule that then your liver ingests and then goes to your brain. So take the lion's mane now too. Awesome.
Yeah, I've had a few people ask me about it. Bud Littlefield and Batten, I think Battenfield, grower, awesome. Is that loud?
No. The funny thing is, if you look at some of the, going back to her thing about Alzheimer's, some of the hippies who have used like mushrooms a lot of their life, if you look at their age when they're in their 70s and 80s, they're actually like well beyond their counterpart friends. You know, they're still very intelligent, intellectual, still very open to new ideas. Because when you get old, you seem to get set in your ways, and then you become just an old, bitter man. You know. So it kind of keeps your mind fresher and open and to new ideas as you get older.
And you know, I had mentioned earlier, I took a lot of acid, and really I did. I mean, I quit counting at 500 hits.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the other hippies did acid too, but
yeah. And you know, it's weird because I don't know if the long-term effect. I've seen hippies that are brilliant, and then I've seen some. I mean, what I've taken is probably minor to half what them guys taken.
Yeah.
But, and plus the potency of it too, probably back then. But then I see some that are just, like mush brain, and I don't know if that has something to do with mental health that, exacerbated by too much LSD or too much psychedelic. I don't know. I've always wondered that.
Yeah. Send you a pic. What's he gonna send you a pic of?
I don't know. He just sent me 2 photos, so we'll Oh my God! No, I'm kidding.
By the way, what were you talking about that makes your brain hemorrhage, Elisa May? Or I think she might have been talking about DMT.
Oh, he's showing me his girls and plants. Nice, Josh.
Talking about LSD. I don't know about that. I know that it has an effect on your heart, and that science shows that if you have heart issues, you should not take LSD. But that magic mushrooms are safe for your heart if you have heart issues.
I was joking earlier when I said, "Hey, look at me! I've done a lot of sick chem," but I haven't seen a lot of residual effect. I mean, I can still. I still had a 4.0 in college. I still, am pretty intelligent. I like to think. I'm a little slower these days, but I think that's, I had a serious head trauma whenever I was in 2006, and plus I smoke a lot of pot. So, I think those have a lot to do with it too. But I don't think the acid had a lot of residual effect over the years. And there have been times once I took 13 at one time. So, who knows? I guess it depends on, if you continue doing it and don't stop, like, it turns into an addiction of some sort to where like an alcoholism or, a heroin addiction or something like that. I guess it could be debilitating and do long-term damage. Anything like that could, I would imagine. I've never really studied it that close.
Did you hear that rattling? My window was rattling from somebody's base who was 2 blocks away. He was 2 blocks away, and his vehicle was like, why do you need a stereo that loud?
I know.
Like, what is wrong with
people? About long-term damage.
I just want to just stab all 4 of those tires in the vehicle so people quit being stupid. Like, why do you need to shake everybody's house 2 blocks away?
Right. Yeah, Josh, them look good.
Man, I'm surprised you didn't hear it. He was rattling all my windows.
I heard something in the
I thought something was gonna break.
I didn't know what it was.
No, I looked out the window and he was 2 blocks down the street.
Wow. See, I don't get all the bass these days. I grew up with I like more treble in it. I don't like the bass to override everything. Yeah, you like a good bass, but like anything, moderation. Balance.
Man, I hate to be his neighbors. If it shakes my stuff 2 blocks away, imagine when he pulls into his house, rattling his neighbor's windows, probably breaks some of them.
Yeah. Surprised his ain't broke. That's probably why he's got thick. Probably got thick tin on it so it don't break him, shatter him.
Yeah, the psychedelics are something that should definitely not be used with anybody under 21. There's not a lot of science that shows what it does to a young mind, because your neuroscience, your brain chemistry is still building as you age into, you're 18, 20, 19, 20, 21, and they can have a really strong effect, and they could fry your brain if you're a kid taking them.
I was 14 the first time I took acid.
Yeah, so that it probably does have a bad effect then, because your brain is still so young and still building, and so yeah, definitely it could have a really bad effect if you have a kid in high school that takes a lot of it. But I didn't really have that. I didn't encounter any psychedelics when I was in high school. I didn't know anybody that ever had them. I know some friends who did some cocaine, but I don't know anybody who ever did psychedelics.
Matt and Killer says, I'm a bass head. He says, can't have enough. I've blown back windows out before.
Jesus.
To each your own. That's just not my cup of tea.
Did they rattle 2 blocks away?
If it broke a window out, I'm sure.
Yeah, that guy probably drives by every day with that bass on too. He lives down. I know where he lives now because I saw him.
You can hear him.
I was just wondering why I kept hearing bass for somebody driving by. Like, I'm hearing bass for 3 minutes for somebody driving by.
And this is coming from, I say too much bass, and that coming from this guy that would stand at a concert with his ear right next to the big loud speakers like this far away, sitting there head banging like that, and stage diving off, but I listened to death metal and a lot of heavy stuff back then too. But it was loud, so hey, I get you like your music the way you like it. That's to each your own. Fucking right.
Yeah.
Rock on.
Well, I like it at a concert, but I like to sit in my house and relax and not
yeah.
The front window around.
Yeah, not disturb me.
I opened the door because I thought the window was gonna break.
Mm-hmm.
It was rattling.
Oh, Angel Dust. I ain't heard that name in a long time, Kim. I smoked some on accident. It was laced in a joint when we were at a party, and wow, we were messed up. I can't even explain. We were just wild, messed up.
But we pretty much went over everything with OCD tonight. Probably not. I knew that OCD was.
Speedballing, Elisa, was when you put speed, like meth, and cocaine together, I believe. You put them together, and at least that was my understanding over the years. I never wanted to go that direction. I've done coke, I've done speed, but I didn't want to super speed.
Yeah.
I was more of a downer guy, I liked my hallucinogens too, because I experimented. I knew always knew that there was a medical aspect to hallucinogens, whatever it may be, whether it be peyote, mescaline, LSD, shrooms, whatever. I knew there was something to it. I just didn't experiment right. I just, like I said before, I went way overboard. But I'm learning now. So, that's awesome. That's good, Joseph.
I got a system in my house too, but I don't. There's a house that nobody lives in on one side, and the other house is a little far away, so they don't even hear my bass.
Yeah, I live a quarter mile out of town. I can jam out if I want.
I was like, I'm glad I don't live in an apartment anymore, because those were the days when I used to live in an apartment. That always sucked. Hear everybody's noise.
And Joseph, I'm glad you learned something. I did too. That's why we're here, to try to bring awareness, and so we can all learn together.
You never put nothing in my nose. I haven't either. I've only done acid, mushrooms, and cannabis, and then all those prescriptions I took, which I considered probably the worst drug.
I didn't care for cocaine, but I love the way it smelled. hard to
Yes,
say. Man,
I actually had a cousin. He was 26, and he came back home to Chicago, and one weekend he decided to do some cocaine with some his friends, and he overdosed and died. And my cousin, 26, and he didn't even really do cocaine a lot. He literally just did it spontaneously and rare, and it killed him. And the weird thing is, all the other 4 people were just fine, but he went into cardiac arrest, basically like a heart attack.
yeah, it hits people. My mom, she was she was in her 50s anyway, but she was a big gal, and she overdosed on a 3rd hit of crack, blew her heart out, which her and my dad had quit a long time, and then went back into it again, and her body just couldn't handle it no more, but he was right there, did the same amount, and it just, some people, it doesn't treat their body right. That's why, I got away from all the hard crap, it's just, wasn't worth it. I quit that long before all that stuff, long before the alcohol, just because I couldn't handle it. My heart couldn't handle a lot of it anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
But, Kim, 90s, I guess. I mean, you're a little older than I am, Kim, but I think 90s is whenever, late 90s, whenever I started hearing about them, where they started getting popular.
Remember, the Western society didn't even hear from him until like 1956, when some rich guy went down to Mexico and met Maria, the lady who had all the mushrooms. And then Time magazine wrote a whole story about it, and that's how psychedelics or magic mushrooms were kind of discovered.
Huh.
Because before that, society didn't really know about it. And like World War II, nobody knew magic mushrooms existed besides Mexicans.
Right.
Ancient society, they still used them.
Yeah, I never knew the history on mushrooms. I mean, I can tell you LSD was founded by Albert Hoffman in 1938 and in the 60s, and Timothy Leary, this and that, but couldn't tell you anything about the shrooms. This is all new to me too. I tried them when I was younger, but the history of them never.
You should actually look up the stoned ape theory. Elisa May, the stoned ape theory is actually that millions of years ago, our ancestor apes took mushrooms. They believe, and that made how our brains became so complex, because our brains evolved very fast. We went from a very simple creature to a very complex in like 100 million years. So there are theories that think that we did psychedelics, that we ate magic mushrooms thousands of times over millions of years, and they helped enhance our brains. And they actually have some science and facts to back that up. So it could be actually true. I don't know.
Elisa, it's funny you say it like that, because that's kind of one of the first times I tripped shrooms. That's how we found it. We was out in a cow pasture. This guy wanted to learn how to wanted to tip a cow. We'd heard about cow tip. We were drunk, yes, of course. But he went to push it, and before he can even do it, it was kind of like that movie Tommy Boy, and he just lost his footing and went face down. His face didn't get in a pile of crap, but he was able to catch it, but his whole body was full of mud and crap and stuff like that. Well, we seen these little things popping out of the thing. He's like, "Is that what they call magic mushroom?" I don't know. We were drunk, so we tried them and we tripped. So, but that's how we stumbled across them. But we had a previous, somebody told us, hey, you can that's where you get them and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess it's got to be a certain time of the morning too. I don't know, but we happen to be right there.
Awesome. Well, people, don't forget to hit those reaction buttons while you're in here. We're probably going to end it here soon. OCD was it's kind of a simple subject to talk about, not too complex, and I didn't think it would take too long tonight.
No, but there's,
Plus I got plans at 1:15.
Learn that there was a lot of
8:15. Oh, as I said, I had plans at 8:15 anyway, but yeah, I saw a lot of, maybe have a little bit of OCD in myself too. I learned a little bit tonight.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I learned a little bit about me, and We had some good comments in the comment section tonight. Thanks for sharing your experiences, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, always appreciate it. And on Thursday, it's gonna be a really interesting topic. It's the Psychonaut Files, and we're gonna talk about how magic mushrooms bring a state of awareness like no other. So we're gonna go over how awareness can bring healing, awareness can help you understand yourself better, and how mushrooms really bring a state of awareness like no other. So it'll be an interesting topic because I've actually talked about this. I've recorded videos in the past about while I was on mushrooms about how awareness really brings happiness. Like when you're fully aware, fully in the moment, living in life, instead of thinking about your future, your past, that's really where you find true happiness. So I think that's really important to talk about.
I just want to clarify something. We did pour beer on it and clean it off off on our shirts.
There you go. But yeah, everybody, thank you guys for joining me and Rhino, and hit those reaction buttons on the way out, and share as well, because people do watch these afterwards. In fact, I just looked at a video that we did a few weeks ago, and it actually quadrupled in views since the night we watched it. So we got 4 times more views now, so people definitely still watch it weeks later. So I appreciate the shares and the likes, people.
Absolutely. Yes, it did, Elisa. Still tasted like shit.
Alrighty. Well, we'll get a close in here. Ross, you got anything to say?
No, guys. Thanks a lot for showing up, and just remember, be aware of yourselves and be gentle with yourself.
For sure. And as always, don't forget to love yourself. Don't forget to forgive yourself. And with that, anything is possible. So we'll see you guys on Thursday night at 6 o'clock. Remember, Thursdays is at 6. So we'll see you guys then.
See you Thursday, guys. God bless.